Right.
All right,
How
guys,
much
we are
we gonna
now
use it? Who
live.
knows?
All right, we are now live with episode whatever the hell we're on. I think it's 4.
That
Maybe
sounds yeah, that sounds right.
something like that.
And today we will be covering week 2 of college football, week 1 of the NFL, and the MLB pennant race because we are just a couple weeks away from the postseason.
Yeah, and if I may start out by saying, rest in peace, James Earl Jones.
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Rest in peace,
That
Darth Vader, man. That's a big loss.
Yeah.
yeah that
Incinerated altogether.
that is one celebrity loss that I have actually shed a couple tears over. That one hurt a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, what do you want to start with? College football, NFL, or baseball?
We can start. I'd actually say let's start with baseball because I actually have a few questions, more or less.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
go
Field
for
Because
of
it.
Dreams,
baseball
James Earl
isn't.
Jones. Yeah, let's.
We'll just say baseball isn't my forte. So like to me, it's more. What do you guys see with the pennant race coming up, and what teams do you guys have in terms of teams to watch, dark horses? I want to know what you guys got in terms of baseball, so I can kind of pick up on what you guys are looking at.
I think with how this season has been playing out, this might be the most up in the air postseason that we're coming into for
And
as
that
long
is
as I
rare,
can remember.
considering that like the only time I really pay attention to baseball is the postseason, because who doesn't want to watch the World Series? But
Right.
So
yeah, I don't. You don't hear about that. You always hear about clear cut teams or who's in the lead, and
I think it's probably one of the least exciting finishes in terms of who's gonna make it.
At
Um,
least on the NL side, yeah. Everybody's starting to run away with things now.
Even on the AL side though too. It's I mean, what Boston's the closest in the wild card, and they're like three and a half,
Yeah.
4.5 out. Like, I mean, barring a pretty big collapse, you know, really the only interesting race is Mets Braves for that third wild card spot in the NL. It's not overly exciting. It's really just more about, in the AL, who's winning the AL East.
Who's winning
Um,
the East, who's winning the Central, and who's going to be the wild cards. That's
yeah,
literally
who's
the
the
AL
having
most
is,
who's having
important.
the bye.
yeah. And with the
But in
NL, I
terms of
mean,
who's getting in, you pretty much know who's going to be in at this point, barring a
mhm.
collapse.
Now I
Um,
may be jumping the gun here, but like who do you guys? Who is your picks to be in the World Series here? Who do you think's going to make it? Who you guys got?
Well, now for that one, I mean, that's really kind of got me a little flustered here because, like, me being a Brewer fan, we're leading the NL Central by 9 games. Uh, we've got a magic number of 10. We could be the first team in baseball to clinch a playoff spot here in a couple days. And, that's got me really excited. The Brewers aren't playing so hot right now, which is perfect because if we just get that crap out of our system right now,
Yes,
and
sir.
then here in week and a half, 2 weeks, kick in the afterburners, we'll get hot again right at the perfect time for the push in October.
I say you
But
guys reel out a couple wins before the end of the season, and that's perfect. That's a perfect Kickstarter.
right, and
All you
that's what
need
I'm
is a little
really
tender, man.
hoping on. But at the same time, you've got the Phillies that have a killer offense, the Dodgers
yeah,
who have an insane offense,
The Dodgers are
and
always up there.
the
yeah.
Padres who have an insane offense.
I was gonna say, Corey. I think to me, I look at the NL as really a three-team. I think it's Phillies, Dodgers, Padres.
Yeah,
Um, no offense to the Brewers, I think part of their record is the product of bad NL Central. I'm a Cardinals fan, so I mean I can say that and not be.
yeah,
You can say that with
Oh,
confidence.
yeah, it's that division's not very good. Um, I think really for me to answer Dakota's question is like a team to watch. Watch out for the Mets. They're playing
yeah.
really really good baseball, and if they can get into the wild card, you always get a team like that can get hot as the season ends, and they can ride that into the postseason and make her like Arizona last year.
Hmm.
making a World Series run. But I still look at it and go, it's a three-team, you know, it's three-team heavy right now. Um, I'm actually a big believer that the bye is a killer, because then
Yeah.
you sit there and watch teams play baseball for a week,
How many times have we
and
seen that with the NFL as well?
yeah, so it's
Hmm.
The Green Bay
and
Packers are the number one example of that. Remember that year they went 15-2?
Yep.
They had the bye and they came out and lost that first game they played.
lost to the Giants.
Yep.
Yep.
That
Uh,
that team made me a non-believer. That game in particular made me a non-believer in the Packers. So blame
um,
that game.
but yeah, I look at the AL and I think that one's really interesting. I think the Yankees are going to win the East. Not because I think they're a better team than Baltimore. Just more of the product of the schedule.
Yeah.
I actually think Baltimore's got a really, really good, complete team. Um, and I actually like them to go to the World Series. I know that's crazy to say, but I kind of like them. Kansas City's young. I think that can hurt them. Yeah, they've got Salvi behind the plate, but it's a pretty young team. I never trust the Twins in the postseason. They choke. Um, and then so you got Cleveland and then in Houston, right? But I kind of like Baltimore to come out of the AL. Um, I think that city is ready for that baseball team to explode. They got upset in the first round last year by the
Mhm.
eventual. I believe it was the Rangers who beat them,
Yeah.
who ended up winning the World Series. And then the NL, like, I just think the NL is going to come down to um, who who doesn't have to play each other first between Philly, San Diego, and LA. Um, that I think that could be crucial to avoid one another until the NLCS. Um, I I mean I know I've said the Mets could make a little run. They would scare me if I was the two seed, having to play them early
Hmm.
in a 3-game series. Like, can we just say the MLB playoff format when they added the third wild card is just stupid.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Like, I hated this whole like the 1-game play-in wild card that they did. I thought that was
God,
stupid.
I thought that was the dumbest shit ever when they did that for a
Yeah,
while.
it's like this is dumb because I can be a wild card team and have a better record than a division winner, and I have to play in a sudden death game
Hmm.
because they were a product of a shitty division. Um, and now you have a bye for like it's just dumb and overcomplicated. Like, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, there aren't 7 teams in each league good enough to go. They should be in the postseason. Um,
Right.
Hell, in the 90s, you had to win a division, one of two,
Just
you
to go
know,
to the World Series.
just to go to the playoffs to have play to go to the World Series. So
Yep.
if they're wanting to do this crap to have more teams in, and I get it, right? Like, the exposure for more teams is good for baseball because you can create fans for other franchises, exposure for players, yada yada.
The
So
NFL and the NBA have done the exact same thing.
yeah, so shorten the regular season from 162 down to like 148. Slap an 8th team in each league then, and don't do a bye and go away from best of 3. I can live with best of 5 series. Like,
Hmm.
I can live with that. But like, if you think about this though, guys, you can be the top wild card team and not play a home baseball game
Yep.
because you only go like you play the first 2 games are at home, and then you have to go on the road and then you get to go for the third game, change venues. You could have a better record than the team you were playing and not get to go play a home game. That is just asinine. Like
It's
Yeah.
insane.
to
That
be
is
like,
kind of insane to think about. Just the idea of a
and
playoff team playing all these games and then not playing a single home game in any of those.
yeah, it's like, so go to 8, shorten your regular season, do the best of 5, where you rotate 2-2-1, and stop overcomplicating these things. Like, I don't know why in life we overcomplicate some of these things that are very simple. Like, this isn't sports, but like we're talking about parking lots and how people over design parking lots. It's like, it's a parking lot. It's a big square of concrete with lines. You don't have to put fancy medians in there with trees. Playoffs are the same thing. Stop with this buy stuff. You know, like, just get you don't have to play the regular season games then. You know, if you're wanting more exposure in the postseason, get rid of some regular season games and call it a day. Same with the, honestly, like, if the NFL were to go to 8 playoff teams and only do like 15 regular season games, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
I agree with that, and especially with the way the playoff format is for baseball, and it's just like I understand Manfred is trying to capitalize more on the whole aura of October and October baseball, and is just trying to press the issue a little bit more and bring more excitement to the game. And it's like, I get it, I applaud that, good for you. But there are other ways to where you can bring more excitement to the game. There are other ways you can bring more viewers to the game. Like, I don't know, the big issue, especially here in Iowa, doing away with the goddamn blackouts. Because, I mean,
right.
here in Iowa, we are screwed. Me as a
You can't
Brewers
watch.
fan, I can't watch a single Brewer game at all.
I mean, ever since we lost Fox Sports Midwest, I can't watch a Cardinal game either. Like, watching baseball in Iowa is uber
It's
difficult
hell.
because
It's
it's
It
hell
really
unless
is.
basically,
you're a Chicago fan,
it's like,
and then you're
what's
golden.
ESPN showing? That's really it.
And
I
half
mean,
the time, if they're showing a team from the Midwest, like the
It's
Twins or
because they're playing
Royals,
one of the top teams and they're from another city.
well, the thing is Iowa. They are claimed by they are claimed by the 6 teams in the immediate area for Major League Baseball. So Iowa is claimed by the Twins, Brewers, both Chicago's,
mm-hmm.
St. Louis, and
In Kansas City.
Kansas City. So that way, if any
Y-
of those teams are shown on ESPN, the game is blacked out. Period. We cannot watch it. If you want to have uh, a local regional channel like Bally Sports, or which used to be Fox Sports Regional, you can't watch any of those because it depends on which regional network we get. Which with Mediacom, it's a shit show. Because when I used to have Mediacom, I'd watch or I'd see like the Brewers were playing the Cardinals, so I'd want to go watch the game. Well, guess what? I put it on Fox Sport, or I put it on at the time it was Fox Sports. I put it on Fox Sports. Well, guess what? It's the freaking Royals instead of the Cardinals Brewers. Or
Yeah,
hey,
I've
guess
heard,
what? The Brewers are playing in Kansas City this weekend. Let me watch this. Nope, it's the Twins.
and I've
What
heard,
the hell?
is it MLTV, the subscription? I've heard
Yep.
that that's really brutal too. That there's so much blacked out there too.
Yeah, you
It's
can't
not
watch
worth purchasing.
any of those teams here either. And it's bullshit. And that is ultimately the reason why baseball is dying, in a sense, because
Yeah,
of the blackouts.
yeah. You are
It's just the
you're
inability
100%
and
correct.
the unexposure, more or less, to the games.
Yep. And the reason why is because MLB says, well, if you're within that certain range, you should be able to just go to the stadium. Okay, well, let me
Yeah.
just drive 5 fucking hours to go to Milwaukee to watch my Brewers play.
Right.
I can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
same
like,
with
yeah, let
Steve.
me let me
Let me
let me
just
do a
drive
road trip.
6 hours to St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
The
imagine
the
me trying to drive
closest,
to the Boston Stadium in
Right?
order to watch them play.
Yeah,
Well,
the
but for you
closest
though,
is Kansas
you're
City.
golden though. You're a Red Sox fan. You can get MLB TV and watch every single damn game,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
no
Yeah,
matter
that's
where
true.
they play, because you're watching the Boston feed. I can't
Yeah,
do that.
honestly, we're not gonna go into discussions
Yeah.
about
So
how
shut
much
up.
my
You're
Red
out of this
Sox.
conversation.
So I'll
But
tell you what,
that's
it's not a basic cable provider either.
like that's the thing that pisses me off so much about it. It's because sports is just becoming so money hungry, and it's
I
evident that
know. And they,
that Manfred is trying to do so much to improve the game, but he's doing it in the wrong ways. And I know we're starting to get away from our pennant race talk, but this is a huge issue as well with baseball, and it's a
just
big thing that's killing like
from
these
Sport.
younger fans,
from
especially
pitch
in this new
clocks.
era to where people don't want to and go get freaking MediaCom or freaking DirecTV or Dish Network or whatever. People
They
want
want
to
to just be
go
able to
get
sit down and
YouTube
watch a game.
TV or Fubo. People want to be
Yep.
able to watch what they want to watch. We should be able to just buy MLB TV and watch whatever damn team we want to watch. But we can't, especially
Yep.
here in Iowa, because we are screwed in the sense to where if you're not a fan of a team that's outside of the Midwest, you are screwed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then when you talk about blackouts, and then you just talk about rule changes, it's like, how can we ruin the game of baseball more? Like,
Yep.
I feel like, Manfred, it's like, did you ever play baseball, man? Like, there is an art to pitching, there is an art to throwing over to first. It is a chess game that he's trying to make checkers. You know, when you're on the mound and you're shaking off the catcher, there's more to it than just, I don't want to throw that pitch. There is a mental game
Hmm.
that you are playing with the batter. There is a mental game that the batter is playing with the pitcher. When you're
Hmm.
throwing over to first base, it's because you are respecting the speed of a person over there in some cases. In some cases, you're just setting them up for something later.
Yep.
And to go, oh, you can only throw over a certain amount of times or they get the base. That is such a slap in the face to the art of the game of baseball that it's disgusting.
I completely agree. Because I've always thought those memes of uh, I've always seen this meme out there that says, "Oh well, you're not a fan of baseball. That's okay. It's a smart person sport anyway."
Yeah.
To be fair,
Like,
it really is, but not in a sense of like you're a Harvard grad. You have to truly have grown up with the game to
yeah,
understand it and
because,
get like the reason why this pitcher is throwing at this guy that runs like a 20-day 40 yard dash, or I guess in baseball takes 20 days to run to first base out of the damn batter's box. There's a
yeah,
reason why the pitcher's throwing over there, because it's very damn well that it could be a hit and run
yeah,
if the
yeah,
pitcher throws over there. And let's say you got uh Javi Baez over there on first, and he's expecting you to, you know, throw a pitch on your third pickoff attempt. He ends up taking off the second. Guess what? You got out of that. You got out of that whole situation. You just picked him off.
yeah.
But
And
now you can't do that anymore.
I know. And the thing is, like, there are things you're setting up that you won't even see in that game. So, like,
Hmm.
I coached a lot of Little League Baseball. And I know anybody who listens is like, oh, who cares? It's Little League Baseball. But I had a kid on one of my teams who was really quick. He was really fast. And like, there's track fast and there's baseball fast. There's like a difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
So
big difference.
this kid, he was fast on the base pass. As the season was going on, when he was on third, I was having him stretch his leadoffs farther and farther down the third baseline because typically the third baseman in Little League isn't really caring about the runner. Like, I'm going to play third. I don't need to worry about you on third. Well, then
Right.
finally, when we were in the tournament championship game, I had this kid on third, and it's Top of the first inning, there's 2 outs. I've got my cleanup hitter up, and I had a lefty pitcher. It's key. It's a lefty pitcher, so his back's to third. Third baseman's not holding my kid on. So I go down halfway to the line. Halfway down the line, I draw a line. I said, I want your lead there. And he looked at me and I said, you know what to do when he makes the move. So, pitcher, back to the base, right? Kind of peeks, sees my kid halfway down the line because the third baseman's not holding him on. Makes a move to third. Kid goes home, steals home. Easy peasy. I set that
Hmm.
up all year long. By the way, we won by two. Kind of a big run. Um,
Yep.
but we set it up all year long. How do you set this stuff up now if you're a manager when you can't throw over? You can't, you once you step onto the mound, you have a certain amount of time to be able to pitch. It's it's like, gosh, like who cares? Oh, we got to try to like make this appealing for television and shrink it into a 2 hour. Baseball is not meant to be done in 2 hours.
No, it's
It's just
not.
not.
Honestly, I kind of akin baseball to that of a masterpiece painting. You can't just fucking rush it. You kind of have to let it play itself
Especially
out.
when Yeah, especially when you're trying to do things to increase runs.
Hmm.
That's adding to time. The best, you want to know one of the best baseball games I've ever watched in my entire life was Game 5 of the NLDS when Chris Carpenter and Roy Halladay dueled off in a 1-0 pitcher's duel.
Hmm.
One of the best baseball games I've ever seen. Time wise, it went really fast. Just wasn't a whole lot of action with hitting. Those are the best baseball games to watch, and you get it done in your like 2 hour window.
Yep.
But you don't get, 8 to 5 ball games in 2 hours. You
Oh
know,
God.
you just don't. So, and I know we got off topic of pennant race, so I'll get us right back on track. Corey, Corey Dakota, what would your World Series be right now?
Go ahead, Dakota.
Um, that one's a little hard for me. Listening to the conversation,
Don't pick the White Sox.
as I say, it's kind of for me right now. It's kind of like a quick guess because I'm not sure divisional. I'm having a hard time not saying the Yankees because they are a really good team. Um, honestly, I could see Dodgers making it. I could see Dodgers, Phillies, Yankees, anywhere along the lines of that. Um, I gotta like maybe fine tune it a little bit, but
No, that's fair because I think it matters when the seating's all done.
Yeah, and that thing's the seating is going to play a big role in that too, and I think that's just ultimately what's going to be interesting coming down to the wire here is what seating we're going to get in baseball because who the hell knows? And
I was just say it can get crazy, especially with baseball.
yeah, because like with the National League seating, I mean, you got the Dodgers and Phillies that are within you know half a game of each other in best record in baseball, and then on top of that, you got the Brewers that are just a couple games behind that.
Yeah,
So you got the Dodgers and Phillies. The Dodgers are 86 and 57. The Phillies are 86 and 58. Brewers are 82 and 61. So they're all right there for top seed in the National League. But then right behind that for the wild card, you've got the Dodgers at 81 and 64, Arizona at 80 and 64, and then the
I was say
Mets at 78
Diamondbacks.
and
I've heard
65.
they've been playing great baseball this year.
Yeah, they really kicked it into high gear here since the All Star break. They've got the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
record in
Started out
baseball.
slow. Started out slow.
Yeah,
Picked it up a
they were
lot.
stupid slow coming up, and then the All Star break, like right before the All Star break, they got on a really good run, and then at the All Star break, they just caught fire big time. It's them and the Mets too. Like the Mets, they had a
I'll say
really
the Mets.
bad season, and then just here in the last like month and a half, it's like, what the hell got into these guys?
I know. And then the Braves, everybody and their brothers hurt.
Yep. But for me, like World Series wise, all year long, I've had Phillies and Orioles
That's
going,
what I
and
got right now too, man.
I'm
I'm
sticking with it because they're both still playing stellar baseball, and the Phillies got some damn good pitching that's doing their thing. The Orioles got some damn good pitching that's doing their thing. They've both got some stellar offense, and Jackson Holiday over in Baltimore, he's lighting it up. So I think I'm just gonna stick with it, Baltimore and Philly.
same
That's
here.
pretty.
I
That's pretty solid picks.
But
yeah.
now there is one thing that I will have to say. It will also depend in the National League who beats the Brewers in the playoffs.
Because usually whoever
Period.
beats the Brewers.
Because the craziest, like, it's the stupidest stat ever, but it's 100% true. Every single team that has beaten the Brewers in the playoffs has gone on to the World Series. Period.
So right now it would look like it would be the Diamondbacks again.
Probably.
No, Corey's like, you just had me losing in the first round, you dick.
I honestly wouldn't doubt it because, to be fair, like, the Brewers pitching is so up and down, and that's the
Uh,
reason why I even saw a couple days ago experts there's a bunch of experts that did some weird math shit, and they have the Brewers as having the best odds out of all the current playoff teams that are in the playoffs right now. They have the Brewers as the best odds to win the World Series. I don't know how they come up with that. I don't
Well,
know
it
why
could
they
be.
come up with it.
Could it be consistency? Could it be things that happen during the season that could factor into it? I don't know. Everything from stats to RBIs, anything, just anything
or
at
they were
all.
drunk.
Yeah,
Probably.
I
To
was
be
say
fair,
we've seen a whole
probably
hell of a lot of that going on over
because the
the last
Brewers
couple of
pitching,
weeks
it's
with
so
college
up and
football.
down. And right now, like, the Brewers aren't playing so hot right now. We're on a little bit of a losing streak. So, like I said, I mean, I just want to get that out of the way right now. Just go on our losing streak right now. I don't give a shit. Get our losing streak out, but keep winning series here and there to stay ahead of the Cubs, and then kick it into high gear here in a week and a half. We'll
I
be
don't think
good.
you gotta worry about the Cubs though.
No, they'll fall apart.
You're what, like 8 up,
9.
9? Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of games left, right? What are we looking at? Total games left. I mean,
19.
yeah, I was gonna say 18, probably. Like that's a pretty significant hurdle to make up, being that far out. I mean, crazier things have happened, but
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it happen before
yeah.
recently.
So but for the statistically, you're in good shape. So
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's so many things could happen this year in the playoffs, and there's so many good teams right now. Like Cleveland, they've
Let's
been having a
say
very quiet year,
I
and
am
they've been
actually
having a
looking at
very
the
good Cleveland. They've been
postseason
having a
picture right
very
now.
good quiet year. In
Like
Houston, like, they're just Houston.
I was about
Like,
to say, Houston.
every time you start putting Houston out of it, next thing you know, it's like, dude, why are they in the World Series again?
yeah.
I can't count how many times they've made it in the last however long.
Too
I'm
many
gonna
damn
say I'm
times.
currently looking at the postseason picture right now as we speak. And if I were to actually pick my World Series, like I said, I would have to say Dodgers and Yankees. And it's really hard for me to say Yankees because I am a Red Sox fan, but
I mean, those aren't bad picks.
No, not at all.
I just look at LA and go, man, unless it's a COVID year, they just choke.
Yep, exactly.
And my dad's a Dodgers fan, and he'll tell you too. He'll be like, we're gonna get in a big swing game, and it's gonna be Kershaw on the mound, and he's gonna shit the bed. And I look at the Yankees once again. It's not a bad pick, but I just look at them and go, they're so boom or bust
yeah,
that
they're gonna either
I,
score high or they don't score at all.
yeah, they're gonna run. They're gonna get into that cold weather against good pitching, and they're gonna struggle to score, and that's kind of their problem. And so I just kind of look for those balanced teams typically.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say
And
those balanced teams, the ones that you show consistency all year round. You don't really, it's not a toss up of what you're getting out of them. Who would you say would be has been the most consistent team this year
to me,
in terms
Philly.
of baseball? Philly.
Yeah.
I say they are a 1 seed currently.
They haven't been on the two highest of highs, and they haven't had the lowest of lows. Like they've just been steady. They're not. Their record isn't the product of like ripping off like 23 wins in 26 games. They've just been steady Eddie all year long.
Yeah. Their losing streaks have been very minimal. Like if they'd go on a losing streak, it's like 3-4 games, and then they rip off like 5 or 6 in a row. So their losing streaks have been very minimal, and Philly, without a doubt, has been the most consistent team in baseball. And I hate saying that because, dude, like, it's not that I hate Philadelphia, but I hate Philadelphia. Like, it's like LA, New York, Chicago. Like,
Now, when I say
I can't
Philadelphia,
stand
I
them.
remember when all those big names signed there. It was 2-3 years ago. It was like 2-3 seasons ago, and maybe I expected it sooner, and maybe shame on me for that. But I expected them to be doing this good a hell of a lot sooner. I mean, and I do admit that, of course, building super teams, it does take building chemistry. We've seen that with multiple sports.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have no idea what the holdup was, but would it be, in my opinion, would it be surprising to see them there now? No, not in the slight. Because, I mean, eventually something's got to give, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to say the Phillies have done the most movement outside of LA. The Dodgers. The Dodgers made some pretty insane signings during the offseason. So
Yeah,
And I
Shohei
do,
Ohtani is the next
speaking
Bobby
of that,
Bonilla.
one thing I do got to say too, the way that the Dodgers did their signings is ruining baseball.
Oh, it's going
yeah,
to ruin their franchise.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, they don't care because they can handle it. They've got the
They
owners that can handle it. Like, that city can handle it. All they want to do is bring in the best players possible to win them a championship. And
yep.
Yeah.
it's gonna it like Steve said, it most likely will eventually just
Break their franchise.
destroy that franchise.
Well, so
But
like look
it's
at this
gonna keep
Shohei
baseball.
Ohtani contract, right? What did he get again? What was his deal? And then we can talk about how it's structured. Like
It was
Let me look it
absurd.
up.
It really was absurd, though. I remember seeing the years on it.
cuz
Okay,
remember,
it is 10 years, 700 million.
yep,
Yeah,
and they're only paying him, I believe, $1 million each year for the 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they
and the
deferred
rest of it's
all of
like
it.
fucking bonuses and shit.
They deferred everything else for another 10 because he can make that money up in endorsements and stuff being in LA. So the man essentially in year 11 is going to make $69 million a year for the next decade.
Yep.
And if we thought Bobby Bonilla's contract was bad, yikes.
There's still a part of me that thinks Patrick Mahomes' retarded ass contract was, and a part of my use of the word retarded. I'm just saying, like,
You just
maybe
got so canceled. Thanks, man.
these 10 years is one thing. Okay, I think it's just a bit of a reach because when you look at Patrick Mahomes and you look at the way football works and how people's careers, I mean, yes, QB is the most protected in the entire scope of things, but man, all it takes is one terribly bad injury
Yeah.
and it's straight downhill. So, and
Yeah.
it could
Look at
happen to
Bridgewater.
Ohtani too. Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm all the best to him. I hope that deal does work out for him. But much like the Patrick Mahomes situation, it could very well turn out. What is the word I'm looking for? Dog shitty.
Well, I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about it, I mean, 10 years from now, Shohei Ohtani, if he's not playing baseball, is making $69 million. And if you're the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani isn't playing baseball for you, you are paying somebody $69 million. That that is like three position players that you
Hmm.
are paying to do nothing.
Not just 3 position players, but 3 all-star caliber position players.
Right.
Because like an all-star caliber player in baseball is going to make 20 plus, or essentially
20
is going to make 15 plus million dollars a year.
And so when I
20
talk
mil,
about
20
ruining
plus
their
million.
franchise, like they just might not be able to afford talent. Um, because of what they're going to have to pay Otani. And if you're a Dodgers fan and you aren't old, you're going to hate midlife, you know. Like if
Yeah.
you're 20, like if you're a 25-year-old Dodger fan and you're like, "Man, this is going to be great. We're going to be winning for the next 20 years." Man, you guys they might have a hard reality check in a decade. And so when they're in their mid 30s, they might be like, "Wait, what? That's what
We
that
might
meant?"
be, I mean, they'll be like the Dodgers of the 90s, to where like they're the Dodgers,
They're
but
irrelevant.
they're the relevant Dodgers.
Right.
And I just think in my head, like, what? Where's big contracts like this always gotten us? Like, look at how deep of shit the Saints were in 2 seasons ago when they couldn't sign a single free agency because they were negative in cap space
Well, that's how they
because
still
of
are.
contracts like this.
Exactly. And that's how they still are too.
Yeah, so
And
they're
like the
still dealing
NFL,
with it.
because like the NFL does deferred contracts too, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
No, I
It
don't think
is
they'll ever do anything
like
that
in
crazy.
baseball, it is stupid with
Yeah.
how badly it is. Because
They just
like
they
it's,
kind of willy nilly approve that for anybody, don't they?
yeah, and quite
No
frankly, like
salary cap, in baseball, which is, part of the
stupid.
reason they can do it so easily.
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
don't have to
because
pay
like the
them now.
Dodgers
You can
this
still
past
pay them.
offseason signed over $1 billion in contracts for free agents.
Yeah,
That is freaking insane.
and I bet most of that is deferred.
It is.
It's just so they can get the players now, so they can win now. They're going to
Yeah.
take the L in the long run.
Yeah, like
Yep.
that's what they want, and that's what they that's all they care about, is because the fans are tired of losing. But it's like, dude, you guys just won a Mickey Mouse championship a couple years ago. Shut the fuck
Yeah.
up.
And you should have, I mean, to be fair, they should have had one before that if Houston wasn't cheating.
Right. But at the same time, I mean, I can sit here and call it a Mickey Mouse championship. But dude, if the Brewers would have done the same thing, I'd be
It
like,
would have been
Steve, blow it out your ass. I got a
Right.
ring. Ba-bow.
Right. Yeah.
trash. I got a ring. That's what I call the Lakers' little
Everybody.
participation trophy that they got for the in-season tourney.
Everybody's going to be the same damn way too, because everybody's going to be like, dude, you remember that COVID year? That's not a real championship. But
No,
everyone that won the championships, like,
because look at
boom,
the
get
Lakers.
the
They
real
won a
ring.
championship that year, and guess what? They haven't done anything of relevance since then.
Hmm.
To me, in my head, they sold their soul for that one. Kobe's death, the whole 9 yards.
Yo,
That's all like Lakers doom. That's all Lakers apocalyptic Illuminati nonsense.
But I mean, to be fair, everybody was playing under the same circumstances in baseball.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like,
So maybe it's a little bit difficult, more difficult to pinpoint crazy shit like that. But
Yeah.
yes, no, I see what you're saying, Steve.
I
I'm
And I
mean,
with you
mean,
on that.
now basketball was a little different, though. I will say that because,
Basketball is 100% more geared towards entertainment, and you can tell with the free agent signings. You can tell with the way players go to bigger markets. You can just it seems more business than it does. It is all about money. It is all about money.
Well,
Everybody wants a chip, but
that's all these that's all the Big Four is about, with the exception of hockey.
Right.
Because if you look at hockey players, uh,
I wish our soccer league got a little
Leon
bit more
Draisaitl
love.
just signed a contract. He is now the highest paid player in the history of the NHL in terms of annual value at $14 million a year.
To the folks who are listening right now, if we really were to sit down and break down the salary differences in each sports, just to think, like, WNBA players don't make a quarter of the money that one singular NBA player will make.
Well,
No,
that's
they
the
were
thing
course
about
of a
that's the thing
contract.
about the NBA too, because like you look at their players, dude, you got fucking bench players that are making $30 million a year that see 3
Insane.
minutes of the court,
5-6 minutes tops, and they're making bank, and it's all like
and that's
championship
because the
teams that are
NBA
just
makes so much damn money, and
yeah.
and the league finally got on their owners, being like, dude, you guys got to stop hogging all this damn money, pay your players.
Which is why I was trying to throw a little bit of love towards our actual soccer league, because while our NFL and our baseball seems to be our most internationally dominant sports, basketball and soccer, I truly do believe are international sports, especially the ones that we have here. The soccer diehards are just absolutely insane. It's hard to ignore them. And then just the influx of foreign talent that comes into the NBA every year, the draft and stash players. Just Luka Doncic is a great example of this. Lithuanian player, dude came in and started playing when he was 13 years old. It's absolutely insane. And that's pro ball that he was playing at that age.
Well, let's not even talk about Nikola Jokic and the fact that he's only playing in the NBA as a hobby.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
true love is freaking racing horses.
Yes, and the thing
He's
that
only
man's
doing
won 2
this so he
MVPs
can go back
and
to
a championship.
Serbia in the winter, in the summer, and race his horses. That's all he cares about.
That man won two MVPs and a championship in the last 3 years.
As a hobby.
As a that's insane.
Like,
That's
I have
insane
legitimately never met a single person that does anything at that high of a level that's like, it's all right. I don't like to do this, but I just do this because I want to do this instead. This pays for this.
Yeah.
That's Nikola Jokic. That's freaking insane. Like, I
Yeah,
gotta
when you
give
look at-
props because that's nuts.
There's
But yeah,
something
when you
in
look
my
at
head that tells
salaries,
me that
though-
we'll never have to look at Nikola Jokic and be like, yeah, when is he going to get washed up? Because I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to eventually be like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's just going to get bored of basketball. And that's where we see Nikola Jokic retire.
Yeah, but you know, when you look at the contracts, though, you know, obviously baseball is going to be top. There, you know, no salary cap, but the NFL and NBA are pretty on par, and then you have hockey, Corey, like you said, like, you know, the contracts in hockey are, you know, they don't sniff what, you know, the guys in the NFL and NBA make, and yeah, you know, you get bench players that make a bunch of money, and you know, I will definitely fall on the sword when people complain about WNBA pay. Like they don't deserve it. I'm sorry.
They don't.
Like
No,
I mean, you know, they still make good
I
money.
just don't think that their market is remotely close to that of which the NBA or the NFL or, you know,
No.
or our soccer league for that matter can provide. Because the fact that we were able to get Messi is absolutely insane to think about.
Yeah, and then they want to, you know, shit on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the only reason people are watching.
100%.
Yeah. Well,
So,
no,
and then
it's
Angel Reese
Angel
just went
too.
down for season, so
yeah,
nobody can even talk about her in terms of relevancy. So
until you bring in consistent ratings and consistent revenue, like you don't have water to stand on. I mean, there's just the ratings for the NBA. As much as I don't like the NBA anymore, they dwarf the WNBA. So of course, you know, we live in America where capitalism is king. We're not in communism yet.
not
So
yet.
those guys deserve the money. So And when you look at what they make in the WNBA, they're still making pretty good money to play a game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To play a game. Um, you know, you got
I always
AAA
hear about
baseball
the
players busting their ass for
yeah, for their paychecks.
less.
Mm-hmm.
You also got
Yeah,
to think about this. I've seen a lot of like you hear it from the interviewers, you hear it from the sportscasters complaining about what these players really do and the fact that they're doing it for our entertainment. Here's the thing. The fact that they're choosing to do this. The fact that they're choosing to put their body, their mind, the whole 9 fucking yards on the line for us to sit in front of our TVs every single Sunday, whatever day it may be, to watch them do this.
And the
They
thing is,
NFL
all
players deserve the money they get. I don't care. I'd say the same thing about NBA players too, because we've seen some gruesome mass injuries in the NBA
oh
as
yeah.
well. So I think when it comes to sports in general, I think the fact that we're getting entertainment out of it is justifiable enough for them to earn the checks that they're getting.
And the thing is, like, that's all they have to worry about too.
Yeah, we're
So,
fucking loving it. We're loving
you
every
know,
second of everything
when
they do.
Corey and
So
I, yeah, when Corey and I are going out playing rec league softball when we were younger, we had to go work 9 to 5, deal with life while going to play something that we love. I'm not saying they don't deserve to get paid, but I don't fucking shed a tear for you when, you're upset about your contract only paying you $15 million in your final year.
yeah.
Like,
yep.
go fuck off. Um,
Well,
you
and
Oh,
know,
I'm
also
doing this because I love
90% of
it.
those guys are
Shut
going to
up.
see
No,
that
you're
money
not.
anyway. So, to me, in my head, it's like I never scoff or bat an eye at that shit because if the team that they're on right now isn't going to fucking pay them, then you already know a team down the line will, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's not recommended.
yeah. So it's like, oh, pay me, insult me with a bunch of money to work out and play a sport all day. Like I still remember as a Cardinals fan, I still remember when Pujols left, um, and
Everybody and their moms are upset, but people
ev- eh,
understand.
but his wife was offended by the 5-year contract that they offered. They offered him like it was 5 years and 100 mil was like the first offer before they bumped it up to 9 years. And I remember even posting on Facebook, and I was like, "You can insult me with that."
Right?
I mean, I
If
can't hit a
I'm just
98
saying,
mile an hour
if the
fastball, but
company I
shit.
work for offered me a 5-year deal for that much money, shit, you think I'm saying no?
Right. And so,
You can have me do whatever the fuck you want me to.
Dude, and it's
like,
the same thing with like the Javi Baez contract in Detroit. It's just like, dude, Javi Baez is fucking trash. And it's
I
like,
know
dude,
that's why when you said he
please.
was on first base in that example, I was like, how did he get there?
I know. I would say he walked, but he swings at balls that are 4 feet out of the zone. So
He got hit by pitch. How about that?
he probably could have swung at that too. But it's like the Javi Baez contract. It's like, dude, you're making like $30-some million a year to hit like 210. Give
I
me half of that,
know.
and I'll probably do the same thing with my eyes closed.
Yeah, pay me half. I'll hit 180. Um, whatever. Slap me at DH. Fine. Uh, but
It's
should we
like,
pivot
come
over?
on.
You want to pivot over to some NFL here?
Real
Huh?
quick, I did notice something uh, back about the wild card race. Looking at the
Uh-huh.
wild card standings for the American League, we've got a really, really tight race here coming for the final wild card spot now.
Oh, was Boston close the gap a bit?
Detroit, Seattle, and Boston have all closed the gap.
What are they
Boston
behind?
did just beat on
Um,
the Royals a
Minnesota
little
is
bit.
currently leading, or is currently in the final wild card spot. Detroit is the next closest at 3.5 out, along with Seattle at 3.5. Boston is 4 out, and then you go a little bit farther down. You got Tampa at 5.5 and Texas at 6.5. They
Yeah,
are all
I still feel good if I'm Minnesota. I'm probably not worried about Texas and Tampa though.
I'd worry a little bit because to me, I don't think Texas is going to get there. I think they're a little too far back, especially with how Detroit and Seattle are playing. But Minnesota, I'd start worrying right now because they were playing a lot better baseball, and here in the last month they've been struggling a lot.
Me
So
as
I
a Red
think
Sox
they're
fan, I'd just be happy if we just fucking make it. Honestly, because
I mean,
I haven't
Well,
I
seen it. I
here's the
haven't seen
thing:
it in
if
years,
you're the
and
if you're the Twins, I'm looking at their schedule. The You control your destiny, which can be good and bad, right? So they're
mhm,
playing the Angels right now. Then they get the Reds. Then you get the Guardians, the Red Sox, Marlins, and Orioles.
rip.
So you can bury the Red Sox. You
Yeah,
can gain ground on the Guardians. Clean up against the Marlins and Reds and hopefully the Angels. I know they lost tonight to the Angels, but I look at that and go, if you do what you're supposed to do, I think they're in good shape. You
hmm
got 1, 2, 3, 4 games against the Guardians, split that at 2-2, three against the Red Sox. Hell, just take a game, and you're in good shape with 3.5 to go. Um, I don't. Let me look at the Red Sox schedule.
I was
I
gonna
don't have
say
faith in Detroit.
I don't know what
I
the Red Sox has got going on the rest of the season. I do know we just beat the Orioles pretty handedly at that. I don't know who we've got. I don't know.
You've got Baltimore for 2, and then you got the Yankees, the Rays, the Twins, the Blue Jays, and the Rays.
that's kind of a tough. That's a kind
That's
of a tough
pretty.
game right
Yes,
there.
that's a
That's
very
pretty
tough.
tough.
And same with Seattle here. I'm looking at Seattle. They're home against the Padres for 2, and then home against the Rangers for 4, home against the Yankees, and then road at Texas, Houston, and then finished against Oakland. So all of those teams right there, minus Oakland, are potential playoff teams. With the they're all playoff teams with the exception of the Rangers, and the Rangers are right there because they've been playing some really good baseball lately too. So it's like I think we could see a very, very close finish for that final wild card spot in the AL, and I'm all for it. I would be very happy to see Boston, or not Boston. I would be very happy to see Detroit take that one.
The Tigers have a pretty tough schedule until their last three.
Yeah,
They got Rockies right now coming up, but then they got the Orioles for 3, then the Royals, then the Orioles again, and then the Rays, and then they get to finish with the White Sox, which is great news,
yep,
because that team is awful.
like historically awful.
Yeah,
But yeah, I would be tickled pink if Detroit can pull that one off. That would be pretty cool, especially with where they were at a year or two ago. Literally the worst team
yeah,
in baseball, and here they are 2 seasons later and making a playoff push. Good for
yeah.
you, Detroit.
I was gonna say, Detroit has had absolutely terrible history here, and if they can get it turned around, then good for them because we're looking at almost a renaissance of sorts for all of their sports.
Hmm
Um, Detroit's looking fantastic. The Lions, they're looking great.
The Red
Goff did
Wings
throw.
are
I was gonna
getting
say
up
Goff
there
did
again.
throw his pick
Yep.
in that game last night, but fuck, you guys won, and you guys won in a very, very, very close, tight, exciting game. So
I
Yeah.
think the only team in Detroit that's still shit are the Pistons.
Pistons, yeah.
the Pistons, yeah, and they need. I was gonna say
That's
they
not
need
going to
some work.
change for a
The
while.
I,
They're bad.
they've gotten some pretty bad ping pong ball stuff happen there.
Yeah,
Which, in all honesty, I think that shit's all rigged anyway.
yeah, it usually is rigged for the better teams to get the better players. It's always been that way. Remember when Patrick Ewing got drafted? That itself was a setup. And then you look at
Well, especially like last season, because I know, like with me being a big hockey fan, Connor Bedard was the talk of the NHL for like
yep.
2 years.
I was gonna
The
say
talk about how whoever drafts him when he's available, he's getting a stellar player, he's getting a franchise changing player. This could be the guy to change your franchise, period. And then last season, the Anaheim Ducks were just trash. I mean, there were probably 3 or 4 teams that kind of tanked a little bit to try and get more ping pong balls for Connor Bedard. But then, lo and behold, guess what? The
The
Ducks didn't
Ducks.
get him. They got the 3rd overall pick, and the freaking Chicago Blackhawks got Connor Bedard.
Hey, to be fair, the
So
Blackhawks,
convenient that
as a Blackhawks fan, they were the second worst team in the NHL. Just saying.
I mean,
Just saying.
I understand that.
They were they weren't mediocre.
They were
No.
bad.
Yeah,
They were bad.
I mean,
They were bad.
Chicago was really bad too. But at the same time, it's like seeing something like that to where it's just so convenient to where Connor Bedard, the potential savior of any franchise that really truly needs saving, goes to an original 6 team in a large market for Chicago
that
instead
does seem
of
kind
the
of
Anaheim Ducks that truly need something like that, because hockey is dying in Anaheim because the fans are sick and tired of seeing a mediocre team year in and year out hit the ice, and they just seem like they just don't care.
Well, you know what their problem is? Here's the problem with hockey in Anaheim. They went away from the Sweet Mighty Ducks logo to that orange bullshit, and then they
Mm,
sucked. That's their fault.
they
well, they did bring it back
went
though.
to the orange bullshit
Yeah.
and sucked.
I
Get back to the Paul Kariya and Timu Solani days, man, and people will love Anaheim hockey again. That's what I'm saying. And I
I
know they're
Well,
going
I
back
do
to
actually,
the
gotta say,
logo.
I'm gonna be honest. I think
I
that starts with getting a good
love
team first.
I love their new logo. It
The
is
Ducks.
wow. Yeah, it's a modernized version of the Mighty Ducks logo,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
But
it's
go back to that color
wow.
scheme though, man.
I wish they did, but I get why they went with all orange because they're in Orange County. It's a little corny, but
But it makes sense.
my God, you're not gonna miss them on the ice because holy shit, that's a bright orange.
That's like the
My God,
fucking those color rush uniforms of the Dolphins.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Like, how the
that
fuck do you
orange.
miss that, man?
I'm not even joking. It's like that orange
Tua's
that
like, I
they
didn't
went with,
see him open downfield, and you're like, how?
right?
Are sure your eyes don't hurt? Just looking at it.
Did your offensive line blind you or what?
Right?
Can you see anything at all?
But all right, let's switch on over to the NFL. So, first question I got for you guys.
Yeah.
First game yesterday. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. 14 of 29 for 93 yards. Is Caleb Williams going to be for real? And this was his first game, first start jitters? Or is he going to be a flop?
I think it's too early to tell. I mean, I tend to go with more of a flop than perennial Hall of Famer. Um, I don't think he's going to be awful, but I don't think he's going to be a world beater either.
No.
I think he can be serviceable enough to get the job done for them, though, in the future. But I don't. I just look. He turns the ball over too much. He's careless, and unless he fixes that, I don't see him being one of the top 5 guys in the NFL for 5 to 7 year stretch. Um, Now, can he be a top 12 guy? Sure. After a
Maybe.
while, I think so. I mean, as a
Some
Detroit
real
Lions,
tinkering and tooling. They've got to fix whatever the fuck it is with his downfield passing. Because when I look at Caleb Williams right now, as we speak, I'm not gonna jump the gun and say bust or a flop. I'm going to say Matt Moore because that's what I'm thinking. A perennial backup. Not much
Well,
more. Like right
to
now
me, I
as we
think
speak.
to me as a number one overall draft pick, and
And
who was
that
somebody who
would
was
be a
said to
bust,
be,
honestly.
yeah, for a number one overall draft pick, and for somebody who was said to be the savior of the Chicago Bears, and
No,
the
they
guy
wasted.
that
They
is
could have
supposed to come
drafted
into the
Drake
NFL
May
and
or someone along the lines of that. Honestly, they should have invested in true scouting and not based off of
Here's, I think what people are
garbage
missing
tape.
here. I think what people are missing here is he's got the talent. Um,
And most certainly, that
it's
man's
not
got an offense
deniable.
around him.
He he's got an offense around him. He won a Heisman Trophy. They don't have the right coach.
Mm-mm.
No, they
Okay.
don't.
They don't have the right
Um,
coaches, period. Like that coaching staff is like, what the hell is wrong with you guys?
It's
and
putrid.
so I think if you bring in the right coach who knows how to work with quarterbacks, you know who would be a great coach
Pete
for
Carroll.
Caleb Williams? B- Jim Harbaugh.
Well,
Yep.
honestly, yes.
I mean, you
You're
know,
talking about a real quarterback guru here.
or
I
You
mean,
know,
look what Jim Harbaugh did with fucking Colin Kaepernick.
right.
yeah,
And, and here's where I get a little worried. You know who's going to be a coach available in the off season who should have been a head coach but decided to go back to where he was? Ben Johnson.
Hmm.
Uh the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator. And that's where I go, can Caleb Williams be a top 12 quarterback? Because Jared Goff was the number one overall draft pick, and everybody thought he was a bust after a few years. He takes the Rams to the Super Bowl. Granted, they were led by their defense, but Jared Goff was not bad. They had a pretty high-powered offense there
yeah, they
in
did. It was a
LA.
really good team.
And then he kind of falls off again, gets traded, for the Stafford deal, and then resurrects his career with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. And so if you're Chicago and you move on this year, I mean, you are looking at you look at a Ben Johnson and a Pete Carroll, um, and go, that's really who you should be looking at.
That's who they
Um,
should have looked at this past shit. Even with Bill Belichick sitting there untouched, at least fillers, man, flyers. Put out some flyers, man,
yeah,
because
but they played
anybody
well
would have
enough
been
to.
better than what they've got going for them right now.
Yeah, they
Now,
just decided to go status quo there, and I don't get it.
we could totally be seeing a completely different team next week. We could see him explode and throw for 300 fucking yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, and am I saying that's going to happen? No, because it's going to be awfully hard to convince me that it's going to happen, and that's only based off of what I'm seeing or what I've seen so far. Now, I will say this: the verdict is out. I am having a hard time calling him a bust yet, but
Yeah, yeah, too early.
yeah, let's just
Definitely
say it's
too early.
definitely too early.
But
For
from the
Now,
me,
preseason
like,
hype, though, you're like, wow, you know, all that
they
hype
were
for
hyping
that.
him up quite a bit.
I mean, me being a Packer fan, I will definitely jump on the bandwagon of y'all need to shut the hell up. Not you guys. Talking
But
to Bears
Bears
fans.
fans,
The
Bears
Bears fans.
fans, I got you. Yeah, because they got a little overzealous. I mean, yes, they got Keenan Allen. Yes, they've added pieces to that offense, but that does not mean your quarterback is set.
Because to be fair, like
No,
Steve said, he won a Heisman Trophy. Yes, he did. However, look at what he did against pro level defenses in college. Look at last season. Twice,
struggled last year.
twice he was seen on TV, national TV, after getting his dick punched in, bawling in his mommy's arms.
Yeah,
Why?
you know what
Because he got his ass kicked against a pro level defense.
the difference between Caleb Williams' Heisman year and the next year? One player, okay, Jordan Addison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
he
Look at the
lost.
success Addison had in Minnesota that 1 year with Kirk.
Yeah, yep, and he loses his guy to throw to, and to me that was the difference for him there. Um, but I think the jury obviously is still going to be out. I think Chicago's probably making a coaching change in the offseason, barring some type of playoff berth that I just don't see happening. Um,
In
with the
all honesty, I
roster.
think it'll be a miracle because I know Bears fans are running their mouths right now because they're like, "Oh, Caleb Williams, first ever #1 overall draft pick to win in his first game." No, he did not win in his first game. He sucked
The
ass in his
Bears
first
as
game.
a
The
team
Bears
won their
defense and
first
special
game.
teams
Yes,
won that game.
the
Right.
Titans gave it up.
Right.
Now, I would actually like to pivot from one QB to another here, actually, and it's more or less questions I have that maybe you gentlemen can answer here. Bryce Young. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this gentleman right here. First things first is he really that bad, or is it just Carolina?
Can it be
Because
both?
they definitely upgraded his offensive weapons, and he gave us absolutely shit. I'm leaning more towards the bust label with him
Yeah, he's done. He's dead. He's got to be done because, in all
because
honesty, like,
how do you
I
get
posed
drafted
the
that high, number
question in our
one?
chat. I posed that question in our chat and said, if Carolina is the worst team in football, do they move on from Bryce Young?
And if I'm another team looking for a QB, would I take flyers on Bryce Young? Would you
Yeah,
take flyers to see what he would do in a different offense?
yeah, you give up like a 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a terrible investment either because he's still on a rookie contract.
No, yeah.
I'm looking at players like Sam Darnold, who may or may not be looking. We may not be looking at a success story in Minnesota, and I look at Zach Wilson, not from a success standpoint, but of what could possibly happen here.
Yeah, I think it's you've seen teams move on from rookie quarterbacks on those contracts because
Oh,
they
didn't even get a chance in not either of the teams he played for in his first 2 years.
so yeah, I look at Bryce Young and go, I think he's the product of a uh, bad franchise with a bad team, and maybe he's bad too. Um, but if he can go to the right place, could they fix him? Uh, I mean, maybe they can fix him to be a backup, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
You know,
look where Darnold's gotten. Darnold's gotten so far just being a backup.
yeah.
Man
I
hasn't had to
mean,
play until this season, literally, and
I know.
he surpassed expectations by a long
Well,
shot with
yeah,
that
I mean,
first
heck,
game.
what's his face from Missouri, Chase Daniel. I mean, he
Yep.
made a hell of a living being a backup.
Yes, he
oh
did.
God, yeah. Case
And I mentioned
Keenum.
it. I'll mention it earlier. I
Chase
mentioned
Keenum,
his
yeah.
name earlier, Matt Moore, who
Yeah.
was a starter in this league, but ended up being a backup for most of his career.
Doug
So,
Pederson, one of the best coaches in the NFL for a while, was a career backup.
yep. I'm pretty sure both hardballs went through it too.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, Bryce Young looks bad still.
And not just Bryce Young looks really bad. That defense is done. They have no
That
defense.
Carolina defense no showed 100%.
And
It's
I
just like,
think they're
how do you let Derek Carr go for that much? Derek Carr's supposed to be, and I throw air quotations around this. He's supposed to be washed up.
Derek Carr, to me, I don't even think he's that bad of a quarterback.
No, he's not. Because
I
honestly, you
really
put him
never
on most
I
other
never
teams.
really never thought he was. I
Honestly, you put him in
wholeheartedly
Minnesota's
thought,
offense, they're probably making the playoffs. It's not going halfway.
dude, I wholeheartedly think if we put Derek Carr in Minnesota's offense, they're probably contending for the division.
That's
Their
not even a
defense
lie. That's
isn't
100% correct.
that bad. Their secondary is just like the Packers secondary.
You just look at
Very
all the
suspect.
trash teams that Derek Carr's had to play with, and look at how well he's actually played with those teams.
Well,
I
it's not
think you
even the
put
fact
Derek
that
Carr somewhere, and then they look like they're going to make a run, and then he gets a hand injury at the end of the season, so that he doesn't have to actually play in the pressure moment.
probably.
Sorry.
He's like Russ Grossman, can't handle it, man.
He's like, yep,
He pulled his fucking nutsack, and that was it, man.
yep,
Like,
Peyton Manning won himself
yep,
a Super Bowl.
exactly.
okay, here's the big question for you guys too with the Panthers as well. I mean, if the Panthers are most likely, which I think the three of us are on agreement upon, if the Panthers are dead set on moving on from Bryce Wilson, because to be honest, like seeing him play last year and then seeing him play last night or yesterday, it's time to move on. The experiment is done. He's terrible. I know the offense isn't great. The offensive line is trash, but
you
dude,
got some playmakers,
he is
man,
a
and
young,
there's
mobile
something there.
quarterback with
There
good
is absolutely
receivers.
100% something there, and if he can't get something going, it's 100% on Bryce Young. It's not the offense.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do this year and if he improves. Because if he doesn't improve and you're 2 years in and he looks as bad as he did last year, and you're in the position of the top 3 picks for another quarterback, you've got a real decision to make. Do you take the new guy, or do you trade back and get draft capital and commit to Bryce Young? And I think with as quick as hooks have been with NFL head coaches, that I think the hooks they're quick now with rookie quarterbacks. If they
Yeah,
don't have
because
any
once these
improvement,
coaches start realizing that their jobs are in jeopardy,
yeah,
thanks to the play of some of these QBs, they're not gonna put up with the mediocre play anymore, and they're just gonna
yeah.
start pulling guys.
Like I think you just look at some quarterbacks here recently who have been moved on rookie contracts: Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance,
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Like it
What is it?
is.
Ritter just got traded and cut
Yep, Desmond Ritter.
before the season started.
Yep. Like it is not uncommon for these guys to get drafted in the first round and get moved on their rookie contract now.
Let's throw out. I'd like to throw out another name out in that list of names you just threw out there. Locke, because he
Yep,
actually
Drew.
started off fantastically, and then he got hurt, and then he has yet to find a way or be able to have a chance to really recover from that devastating loss. I actually do feel for Locke because he hasn't really. I mean, he has had a chance, but
Well, and I think it kind of goes back to Corey. I think it was just you and I when we talked about it. Once again, teams overdrafting the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Drew Lock shouldn't be a first round draft pick, but was.
yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
Drew Lock should have been a second rounder, and he should have sat for a year.
He shouldn't have
you
even
know,
been a second rounder. I
Zach
truly
Yeah,
don't
that's
think
fair
so.
Wilson.
enough.
Because
Zach,
he didn't really do that much in Mizzou. Like he
So,
played great, but dude, he did not play that great in the
no,
moments
he
where
didn't.
you'd expect somebody as a first round draft pick to play exceptionally, and he did not do that.
Now, if we're
yeah,
talking about draft picks and QBs, I would like to throw out a name that should have been a lot higher than what they were, and that's Sam Howell, who just got traded to Seattle, who's probably end up taking over for Gino here in a season or two.
so the funny thing about Sam Howell is if he leaves school a year earlier, he was a top 10 pick. Goes
Yeah,
back to UNC, doesn't have as good of a year, and then he falls to what, like round 4? Something
yeah.
like that.
I want to say he was a fifth round pick, actually.
Uh, so that dreaded you go back to school scenario that happens that honestly anymore, it's like look at Sam Howell, look at Matt Leinart, look at the other kid from USC, you know, who go back for their senior year and then their stock falls.
Yep.
Matt
It's
Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley. Thank you very much.
No, I got you.
Um,
I was trying to think because honestly, when I'm thinking of USC QBs, I think of all of them.
Yeah,
Mark Sanchez, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold's even on that list.
so yeah, you get guys that it's like they go, that hurts their stock, but once again, overdrafting the QB position. I get
It's
it.
so common in the NFL right
It
now because they
it's the
stress
most
they stress constantly that it's the most important position in football. And
right.
there's a lot of people that aren't going to disagree with that, but there's a lot of people that are just going to look at it like, dude, we had a QB. What the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah, and I would and it's like one of those I don't disagree, but I also know though that Rob Johnson won a Super Bowl, so did Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trent Dilfer won one, and so I want to say his first or second year with the Ravens.
And so you go, while it is the most important position because they're the one that they touch the ball every play on offense, you don't have to have a superstar back there that you're
No.
overdrafting for if you build a complete team. Because look at the 49ers with Brock Purdy,
No,
Mr.
he
Irrelevant.
honestly didn't play the greatest over the last couple games before they made it to the Super Bowl.
So
If
yeah.
anything, I honestly thought they got lucky as fuck.
They did.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, they did. Totally. Green
they
Bay and
should have
Detroit
lost to
pissed
Green
those
Bay.
away.
Yeah.
But
They straight up should have lost to Green Bay. And then
but
the
when
week
you
after that, they should have lost to Detroit.
put a complete team out there, you can overcome things. And when you invest so much into that quarterback position, whether it's deservedly so in like a Patrick Mahomes situation or undeservedly so where you're overdrafting a guy, you can't make up for that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, and then you got situations where you got people like Wentz who get hurt and go down, and then Foles steps in and goes off and wins the Super Bowl.
right.
Those things you can't predict, but that kind of also shows the importance of having multiple QBs, capable QBs, ready on your
Yep.
roster.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and the thing with that too, it also depends on who you're bringing in to play in your system and if they fit correctly. Because Nick Foles clearly is system quarterback.
I was
He
gonna say he was a
excelled
system
in
guy because
Philadelphia, but
he
was
also
garbage
failed
anywhere else in
failed
a
in
different system.
Kansas City previous to his return to Philadelphia. So he went through a lot of ups and downs before he got to Philly and won that Super Bowl. So I think people honestly tend to forget that how much of a struggle Nick Foles actually had throughout his career.
And now I don't even think he's in the NFL.
Nope, he retired.
You're tired.
Yep, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Now,
But like the big question that I was going to ask though, before we kind of got on the roll that we were on here, the question I was going to ask: do you guys think that they will uh, move on from him, or do you think that they will just say screw it and try to, either get draft capital or try to fix their defense a little bit more? Because this upcoming draft is heavily defense,
yeah, it's a
heavy
defensive
in
draft,
defense,
and
So
most of your QBs you're looking at like second or third rounders, if not like.
with the exception of Shador and Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've got
and Dart.
very, very
Yeah,
small like room for improvement at the QB position. If I'm Carolina, am I getting rid of Bryce Young this season? Like after this season, maybe. Because right now, as we speak, I want to see a couple more games out of him. Because if this is what we are getting out of him, I'm giving players like Ritter and Tannehill a call if I'm Carolina, because something's better than nothing.
no, but at the same time, Tannehill probably will not answer the phone.
Oh no! But if I'm Ritter, I'm taking that call.
If I'm Ritter, I would not answer the phone either.
And I only
Because
say
I know
if I'm
Ritter is
Ritter,
not.
I'm taking that call because what if he comes into Carolina and it's a completely different story?
But what if he goes in Carolina and with that shitty offensive line, he gets a career-ending injury?
No, that's a very valid that's a very
That's
valid
that's like the
argument there.
big thing that I'm thinking about too. Is if I'm somebody like Tannehill or Ritter or any other potential free agent quarterback that's going to be out there after the season, if they do decide to go away from Bryce
Yeah.
Young, because damn well if they do move on from Bryce Young, or if they don't, and they call a Tannehill or a Ritter to try to create some
That's gonna end up
competition
being
there.
Minshew next season after he leaves the Raiders.
No, I think he's staying in LA or Vegas.
And I only say that because I think the Raiders will have a new like franchise, quote unquote. And I say quote unquote because whether or not they draft a guy or they sign a guy is going to be one or the other. And I am having a hard time seeing anybody really committing to Minshew like that. As much as Minshew has proved himself, and I'm one of those people that goes to bat for Minshew almost every single season because he does some wild off the wall shit like what he did with the Colts down the stretch last year. Who the fuck is to sit here and say that he's not going to do the same thing with the Raiders? But if you're a QB needy team and Gardner Minshew's a free agent, are you giving him that call?
I'm giving him the call.
I was just saying, I'm giving that man that call. Shit, I'll throw a 2 year
No,
contract at him
Minshew
because
is
here
a
in 2
capable
years,
quarterback.
I was
Like,
gonna
we
say
know
the
Minshew's
difference
capable,
between
but
capable and incapable is significant in this league. So just seeing the play difference might be enough to entice them into moving away from Bryce Young. But
I think for me,
that
like the
also depends on
biggest
how this season ends.
right, but for me, I think the biggest issue with Carolina though is their organization is so terrible because they put so much effort into getting to the Super Bowl with Cam Newton.
That they can't recover from the
Like
financial
everything is
situation of
terrible.
it. Yeah, that team's the fact that they traded away Brian Burns, their best player, period. Like you don't really those things you look at and you're just like, do they even care? Like, did they draft Bryce
Well,
Young based on his talent, or did they draft him knowing that they were going to lose all these games?
not even just trading away these big time players that they had, but trading them away for literally nothing.
Dimes,
It's
dimes
like
on the fucking penny, man. It's like they feel like they could have replaced Brian Burns, and no, you really can't, because
oh
Brian
well,
Burns is easily one of the
we
best defensive players in the
we'll
fucking
trade them
league.
for a seventh.
If you fucking trade Brian Young, you're not getting anything less than a second. At least that's what I would I wouldn't fucking take anything less than a 2.
But they traded him for what? A fifth and a seventh?
Yes,
Or
sir.
a sixth and a seventh? Something like that?
Just for him to turn around and get the contract extension he wanted from the Giants. So when you think about that, the money that the Carolina Panthers could have very easily put into fixing this fucking franchise, they did not. They turned around and traded the players that they should have kept. Like they've got maybe a few stout, like great players on that in that linebacker core. I don't want to say Shaq Thompson's literally it, and that's not. They lost Jeremy Chin in the offseason too. Like it's Carolina's going through some shit right now, and honestly, if I'm a Carolina fan, I just look at rooting for another team this year, man, because this is not going to be it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think this is Tepper's second year as owner, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And second head coach. Uh, well, third if you count the interim, right? From
Yeah.
firing Reich. Um, if Bryce Young does not show significant improvement and Carolina's picking in the top 3, which they will be if he doesn't show significant improvement, um,
We're gonna get the
they're
Sanders show in Carolina.
they'll pull the trigger, um, and draft a new QB. Um, now, if he shows improvement and they're picking in the top 3, which is possible,
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, the
because
verdict isn't out. He could have done. He can definitely turn it around next game.
he can
And
show improvement and they can still lose games because of just
yeah,
how talentless they are. They'll stick with him and get that draft capital that they sorely need, to
now
try
if
to
they don't
put together a
fucking
team.
do anything to improve offensive line or anything around Bryce Young going into next season, then we know what this pick was really intended for.
And yeah, and here's the problem I think they have right now. I think Tepper has such a bad uh the perception of him as an owner right now is not good. And I think
No.
it look at his behavior in Jacksonville. And so if you're a player, do you want to go play there? Look at what they had to do for a head coach. Um, you know, you're like, that was the best that they could get was Tampa Bay's O coordinator who,
It wasn't great.
they didn't light the world on fire. And so I think they're kind of in that position where, um, it's almost like if you're like a you know, a Power Five school, but you're one of the bottom feeders of the Power Five, and so you're not an attractive place to go for young head coaches. But then you strike gold with one, that people don't think you'd strike gold with, that's Carolina. Like, you're just hoping that you can strike gold with a coach uh, that people wouldn't see it in, because that could attract players even if the owner sucks. But that's they've got a lot of problems that go off of the field, and it starts with the ownership, because it's not the ownership there is not good right now. He's got a lot of work to do to win faith of players to you know attract the talent that they're going to need to succeed there.
Yeah, and it's going to be very difficult to do that because, like you said, like the perception going on there is it's a trash organization and nobody wants to go there. And I'm honestly surprised Adam Thielen even went there.
He
Just
went there
because
for a payday.
he
That's
could
how
have
I
got a
can
Yeah.
better,
tell.
he could have
He could
gotten a
have gotten a
payday
way
from
better
anybody
payday,
else.
and on top of that, he could have definitely went ring chasing.
He,
He could have definitely went and signed to it. Chiefs would have loved fucking Thielen.
Oh yeah.
to be fair, he could have gotten a payday anywhere else, but he
Yes,
decided
absolutely,
Carolina. And
100%.
I think he went to Carolina because of his family and they wanted to go somewhere relatively nice. And it's a nice city. Like Charlotte is a beautiful city. I've never been there, but everybody that I've always talked to that has
No,
gone to that has
nothing
been
bad.
there, like Charlotte is a beautiful place to be. And I fully believe that that's probably the reason why Thielen went there.
Yeah,
I mean, he never
that could.
wanted to leave Minnesota, but
No.
yeah.
Well, they weren't going to give an aging man the money that you were going to see somebody along the lines of Justin Jefferson, or like even somebody who's coming in on a free agent contract. You're not going to see him who's aged the way he has. I'm not saying that's bad, because honestly, he was the best receiver in Carolina last year. Um, it's kind of it kind of, for me, being a fan of the sport, it kind of does suck seeing him want to go to a place like Carolina, because when you can go to a place like Detroit, or you can go to a place like Green Bay, who maybe might need that extra umph on their offense, like you could have, man, like you could have really made a difference on one of these teams. But I mean, more power to him if he's going based on comfortability and what his family wants to do. So that is a rarity.
Hmm.
It's always
So
ring chasing or money, man. Like it's not much anything in between.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate because like I hate the Vikings and I loved Thielen. Like he was
He was one of
such
those
a
players, man.
yeah. Like
He
he's one of those players
embodies
that you cannot
what it
hate.
means to play for a franchise. Like when you think of a franchise, like a franchise player, like a guy who's been a part of the team. Usually, for me, when I think of a player like Thielen, or like a Bosa, for example, like those guys are the guys, like the heart and soul of what would be your offense. Well, unfortunately for Carolina, it's not a whole lot, but he very well might be that heart and soul of that team there. So
So real quick, what I wanted to touch on before I have to go, because my phone's gonna die.
Hmm.
Um, week one I think it's so glaring to see just how important I think it is for some of these guys to play in the preseason. Um, because offensively, it wasn't pretty across the league.
no, it was
Um,
No.
not.
and so, yeah, we can look at that Detroit game, and you can look at the struggles that the Detroit offense had because none of them played in the preseason.
Hmm.
Um,
No.
and
Yeah, I
that
was gonna say,
was
look at the struggles that
standard.
Cincinnati had.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase didn't play a single preseason game. Burrow didn't play that bad. In fact, he only had like 5 or 6 incompletions. But number one, he took shots, and on top of that, he wasn't throwing the ball downfield the way he should have.
And also, speaking of that, right now, Aaron Rodgers did not touch the field in preseason. He is currently getting his dick punched in by the 49ers, and at the moment, Rodgers is 13 of 21 for 167, a touchdown, and a pick.
Oh
Purdy
well, fuck.
is 19 of 29 for 231.
Good job, Purdy. Um,
And I think,
talk about players who deserve their contracts and the money that they're making. Purdy is definitely on that list.
and the thing with Rodgers is he wanted to play too.
Yeah,
Yep.
he
Uh,
could have easily took a right and got out of got out of that organization before it really turned bad.
Yeah, because Rodgers wanted to play every single preseason game except for the last one. And that's solely because he just did not want to potentially get injured and then have to turn around and have to hurry up and rehab before week one. He could have
Yeah.
yeah.
easily played week one and week two of the preseason, sat out week three, and been fine. But they did not let him play.
Yep. And
No.
I think it's just, I think what we've been seeing across the league is just how important it is to. I mean, I'm not saying these guys need to play like the whole game because you want to look at your depth and see what you have there. But man, is it really asking much to say like first game play a half, second game play a half,
And remember
maybe sit
when players
third
would come
game
out
or
in
only
a
play like a
preseason game
quarter.
and play like a couple
Mm-hmm.
drives, man. Like you don't have to play the whole game. You come out, play a couple drives, try to get
Get
warmed
yourself
up.
in a rhythm again. Yeah,
Yeah.
get the
So you're
rust
not. So the
off.
second you get touched out there in a real NFL game, you're not freaking out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too has just been media driven too, because when they do go out there and then somebody gets hurt, they're like, "See, this is why they shouldn't be out there in the preseason." And is it necessary to play in the preseason? And it's like, you know, these guys could get hurt on any play. Rogers
Mm-hmm.
blew his Achilles out fourth play of week one last year.
Yeah.
It can
So I
happen
mean,
at
like
any
it could
time.
literally happen whenever. I would actually like to ask you a question, Steve. I have a nice little tally list here of top performers of week one from the NFL. I want one one performer from you.
Oh, okay. I mean, to me, do you go obvious or do you go under the radar?
I
Obvious,
went under the
Saquon
radar
Barkley.
from some of my shit, but
Saquon Barkley, obvious. I mean, you look at what he did in his debut, three
oh yeah, that's
touchdowns,
beautiful.
Eagles, right? Under the
J.K.
radar.
Dobbins.
I think David Montgomery's so underappreciated.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he drug Detroit to a win. Um, last night. So, if I have, two game balls, that's those are where my game balls are going is to those two running backs there.
I would send
Little
my
bias
first
on the
one.
Montgomery one.
That's understandable though. But look at the play you guys gotten out of him the last two seasons. Honestly, he came over probably initially intended as a backup, not to be the starter. And then
Yeah.
you guys
When they
draft
signed him,
Gibbs
we
next
had
season.
DeAndre Swift still.
Yeah. So there's under no circumstances did you guys bring in Montgomery thinking he was going to be the starter, and then he comes out and he plays significantly better than Swift does. It's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with it. My game balls are going to go to two very particular players. One of them's because I'm going to pull the bias card on this one too. Baker Mayfield. He went 24 of 30 for 298 or 89 yards and four touchdowns. That's
4
absolutely
TDs.
insane. So if you think about it, all the people who kind of like wrote him off were like, oh well, he wasn't that great. Well, look at what Deshaun Watson's doing in Cleveland, and look at what Baker's doing in Tampa right now. I
I mean, to
think
be fair,
Baker
the
is on to
Commanders'
something.
defense, they ain't got any dogs there.
No,
Um,
and that's fair. That's a fair argument. I will say this though: if you're going to come out and you want to have a good game week one, he did, and that's
yep,
kind of what I was looking at. The
he
second
did what he
person,
needed to do.
the second person is Josh Allen. 18 for 23, 232 yards, two touchdowns through the air, not including 9 carries for 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. That man basically scored all the touchdowns on his fucking own. That man is the Buffalo Bills. So good job, Josh Allen.
And I think that Buffalo game kind of helps me saying, I know they won, and look, I'd love nothing more for Buffalo to be able to make a run, but that team's in trouble
Yeah, they have to
Mm-hmm.
do a lot to win that game. They had to do an out.
against
And
Arizona at home.
well, I have
You know,
heard
and
like almost rave reviews about what not Carolina, but Arizona's been doing this offseason with their team. Kyler showed flashes of it, and it's hard to even fucking it's hard to even guarantee what we're getting out of Kyler in the first place.
right.
But they did come out firing. They did come out hot. I don't think Buffalo was expecting it. They got hit in the mouth, and Buffalo responded the way you would hope they would. So, I though I am concerned about Buffalo, I'm a tad bit more concerned about Cincinnati right now.
Hey, they're playing. They're doing exactly what I said. They're gonna start slow, get hot at the end of the year. I'm still
And
sticking with it.
I'm they're still my pick for the Super Bowl. We do got Kansas City next week, which is a concern, always a concern. But if we can at least come in and fucking hit them in the mouth and make it a competitive game, I could care less if we lose that game because that doesn't take us out of the playoff race. You know, that doesn't take the Bengals completely out. They just have to win
No,
division games and they have to continue, or at some point in time, get things figured out. I will say that the offensive line is an improvement because he got hit 2 times, I think sacked 2 times in that game, as opposed to the 8 or 9 times we would have seen him get sacked. So that's always a fucking improvement. I fucking love it. This is a boomer bust year for the Bengals. I am calling it. If we do not make the Super Bowl, there's going to be quite a few changes made. I'm sure. I'm sure of it.
Okay, one last question I got for you guys about the Falcons here. Do you think the Kirk Cousin experiment is dead?
no, no. I think that was fully expected. Uh, I think factors going in there is you've got a quarterback in his mid 30s coming off an Achilles injury, um, playing against one of the top five defenses in the NFL.
I was gonna say let's not forget to mention how great of a defense the Steelers actually have. It happened to be
Mm-hmm.
one of the few reasons that I'm actually scared of that team this season.
Yeah, yeah. So no, Kirk Cousins experiment not over. Um, I actually the Steelers were a slight underdog in that game too, and I jumped all over that with one of my massive $1 bets. Um,
Yeah, me too.
because I looked at that and I'm like, you know, Cousins is coming off of an injury. Pittsburgh's defense is significantly better than Atlanta's, and if they got competent QB play, that I thought they were going to win that game easily. Um, if they could have scored touchdowns, that game's a blowout.
Yeah, 100%. I I'm if this was week like midweek like mid season and we were seeing this team absolutely collapse and fall apart, that would be a different story. But we are
Yeah,
week one. I am taking the injury into consideration here, and I'm also looking at his fucking offense because like come on man, Drake London and Kyle Pitts and a running back room does not make a full offense. Like he's gonna need help honestly. And if I'm the Falcons, I'm looking for it. I'm going to look for a couple more competent receivers, maybe one more like solid pass catcher. It could be a vet, it could be anybody. Just an able body can catch the ball, maybe take a little bit of pressure off your top options. Um, Outside of that, it really is just a matter of chemistry. I think that team will find its bearings. It's only a matter of time.
I agree.
Yeah, for me, I think if we see Cousins kind of struggle like that for another 5, 6 games, then we could probably really start seeing a lot of pressure over Atlanta to put Penix in.
Yeah, I
But
agree
I
100%.
think it's gonna have to take like 5 or 6 more games of playing like that to where we're really going to start hammering down on, okay, can we at least see what Penix can do here? And
Oh
if
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
he
if
still
they're
looks the same, then put Cousins back in and let's just ride it.
yeah, I mean if they're sitting at like 2-6, you're gonna definitely see what Penix has because Cousins still has some value even with that
Hmm.
contract. So you're gonna see
I'll tell
what
you who'll
Penix.
probably take his ass right now. Carolina.
Uh, so I was gonna
Carolina gives
go.
his ass a call. Let's see what happens.
I was gonna go some different routes there, but he's got value, right? So you don't want
Yeah.
him to get hurt. Like heck, we don't want him to blow his Achilles out again or something crazy at the end of the year, because
Yeah.
if you want to see what Penix has, so if he's got something and you want to roll that way next year, you could trade him, and I think there's teams out there that would be looking for a guy like that. I think Denver would jump all over that. I don't think they really want Bo Nix to be their guy right now.
No,
I
I
think they
think
would.
they seen that week one game and maybe they didn't. Maybe not having reservations about drafting him, but they're definitely
Yeah,
considering the idea of
I
getting
think they
another
would.
body in that QB room.
I think they would have preferred to sit Bo Nix for a year or two,
And
which
and
is
correct me
something
if I'm wrong,
Cousins would
but
allow.
honestly, if I'm Tannehill, that Denver situation doesn't sound too shabby. They got solid
No.
receivers there. They got a running back. They
Um.
got two very good running backs in that running back room. And on top of that, the defense has always been kind of, up there. It's not the greatest we've ever seen, no. But number
No.
one, you get to play with
Solid.
Sean Payton. You get to play for Sean Payton, one of the greatest offensive minds we've seen. And on top of that, you have a chance to potentially start and make the playoffs.
And you're in a city that has a shit ton of weed dispensaries around there. Bow.
Right.
If I'm just saying, if I'm QBs, I'm taking a look at that Denver team, and I'm just keeping an observation on it because maybe they could look down, maybe like a couple games down the road here and be like, let's pull Knicks. Let's pull Knicks. I know they got Zach Wilson in that QB room, but
It's Zach Wilson.
yeah. But
Nobody's
unfortunately,
going to
as much
start
as I
Zach
love
Wilson
Zach
because
Wilson,
nobody wants Zach Wilson to go bang their mom.
But
as,
but in terms of Kirk Cousins, though, I mean, the Giants, they're going to need a QB.
the Giants,
Um,
the Raiders,
they're probably drafting a guy, but maybe they want to sit him. The Raiders could be somebody who's looking for somebody to fill for 2-3 years. Uh, if
but yeah,
Cleveland ends the Deshaun Watson experiment, like
that would
there's
be a
gonna,
good spot because wasn't Stefanski his offensive coordinator for a hot minute?
yeah, so you're looking, you're gonna have some teams that have talent and could compete, and I think Cousins still has that ability,
Hmm.
um, regardless if Atlanta plays poorly. So I
We're
think it'd
living
be
in a day and age where
oh,
Daniel Jones is still playing.
right.
Um, so if anything, these guys, these older gentlemen, Tannehill, shit, Bridgewater, if he really wanted to, probably could get a start.
No, I honestly don't.
And I only
Not
say
Teddy.
that because if I'm the Giants, I'm starting Bridgewater over fucking Daniel Jones because there ain't no way Bridgewater doesn't give us the same puncher's chance to win a game. Tyrod Taylor played better than Daniel Jones did last year.
So
All
yeah,
I
right,
don't
one
know.
last. Well,
yeah, Cousins has options if things were to spiral in Atlanta.
yeah, definitely. But one last thing, real quick, before we end the show. We do have a little somewhat breaking news. It's not quite breaking right now, but it does have to do with the Jordan Love thing. The Packers have ended their talks with Tannehill. They will not be bringing him in. They are going to ride with Malik Willis, and they fully believe that Jordan Love will be now a week-to-week basis.
That's
So they're
that's
not
actually
talking with
incredible
Bailey
news.
Zappi even talk with him. So
Because even if I'm Green Bay, I'm taking that one loss without Jordan Love, as opposed to you know you're looking at
Right.
when you're getting them back now. Now you're looking at when you're getting Jordan Love back, and you can proceed the game plan for that moment. So you can plan to take an L or two. You can plan to take this or that. You can plan your offensive game plans, your defense, everything. Because now these teams are going to have to prep for Malik Willis, not Jordan Love.
Well, and
And
on top of that, Malik Willis is also playing in a very similar system that he was in Tennessee with Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
So I think
there's not going to be much transition. Like the transition isn't going to be difficult for him. And
no,
in
I
all
think
honesty,
it'll be all right.
I was going to say, in all honesty, the worst that we can do is see him play bad enough to be kept as a backup. You know, if the best case scenario is he comes out and he absolutely fucking lights it up.
I think they're full of shit. I'll just say it. I think they're full of shit when they say they consider Love week to week.
I think it will be like 4 or 5 weeks before he comes back.
Yeah, I think what this is pure PR.
Yeah.
They're saving face.
If you fully believed in Malik Willis, you're not on the phone with Ryan Tannehill or Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, because I would have signed both. I'm not gonna lie, I would have signed both of them. Malik Willis was drafted by the Titans to become eventually their franchise guy. That is clear. That clearly was not his destination. So
that's why I say I think they're full. I think they're full of it. I think they've seen something in practice that made them go. Not necessarily that he can't be good, but maybe he isn't grasping the playbook yet because he's only been there for 2 seconds. To go, maybe we need to bring in another guy here, and then they couldn't seal that deal for whatever reason. Like, I think the Tannehill thing was probably like, you want me to come in and only play for like 4 weeks? No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be a starting quarterback for the rest of the season, which isn't happening in Green Bay.
He's looking for an opportunity to really play. And more power to Tannehill. I mean, at least he himself finds value in himself. And that's not to agree with the assessment and say that he is deserving of a starting spot. But that's not to say that there aren't QBs in the league right now that we would definitely start Tannehill over, because there are.
Oh yeah, there definitely are.
I'm looking at the Bears right now. I'm like, yes.
I mean, I'm just going to New York, going, hi, Daniel Jones.
The Giants alone. A lot of people might hit the panic button on the Jets right now, but if I'm the NFL, I'd hold off on that. It is week 1. Aaron Rodgers was hurt all of last season.
Yep.
Outside of maybe 4 or 5 plays.
Yeah.
People have got to consider that it's going to take Aaron Rodgers some time to knock off that rust. Whether or not he got to play in the preseason or really got to practice with his teammates, it's a matter of time. I'm sure they'll catch rhythm.
Yeah.
And they played a stellar Niners team week 1. What did we expect was going to happen? Yeah. What did we expect was going to happen? That would be like the Chiefs playing a team that were so fucking hot. The Chiefs come out and just absolutely ragdoll them. Well, what did you expect was going to happen? They're the defending champions. Like, we can't expect these hot, young, upstart teams to come out and just beat everybody. I don't expect the Texans to beat the Chiefs every time they play. I don't expect the Texans to beat every team. But I also do expect some of these teams to do way better than what they're doing. Like the Ravens, I actually halfway expected them to beat the Chiefs. No, Chiefs don't do very well week 1.
Well, if Isaiah Likely wears a size 12 instead of 13, they're in overtime.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
They either win the game or they lose, because, hell, John immediately said, let's go for the win.
Smart.
So, man, there was quite the week of football, though. There was a lot of really good games this weekend, and we'll have more to talk about next week as we we got some more games to talk about, and we got another week into the baseball season, another week closer to October, and then we're a week closer to hockey starting, because here in 2 weeks we have preseason starting up. Hallelujah.
That'll be beautiful. I'm actually gonna be probably the most giddy out of everybody here for that hockey season, because I'm going to be able to sit here and watch you guys dabble in what you guys actually enjoy. So while everybody gets to watch me get giddy about football, I get to watch you guys get giddy about hockey. So that sounds like a win-win to me.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm really
definitely.
excited.
I cannot wait to get on that talk. So we will wrap this up for the night and then start figuring out what to chat about next weekend.
Alrighty.
Again.
Pleasure,
All right.
gentlemen. We'll see you. We'll see you guys next time.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Peace.